Welcome, artists. I am so excited that you're here. Welcome to Creation Station with Ms. Rucker. And this week we're going to learn about a new process, and this is going to be something that can apply from the youngest all the way to the oldest. And it's all about your creativity and how you develop your own skills. So this week we're going to learn about printmaking, and I have an example of a print up here. But what is printmaking? It is a type of art, and it's where you create something on a plate, ink is put on it, and then it's transferred to a piece of paper. There's lots of different methods for doing this. This example here is an example of a jelly plate, and it feels like it sounds, kind of jelly-like. And you put ink on it, and then you kind of very carefully take away or subtract it using a tool or even a Q-tip or something. And then you put the ink, you turn your plate upside down, and you lay it onto a sheet of paper, and then when you lift, you have your print. So what's really cool about printmaking is that you can do a limited edition, which means you can have reproductions, but they're still works of art. Each one will be slightly unique, and then they're usually run in a limited edition. So instead of having to paint 500 of something, you can print them, but there's still only so many available, so it still has its value with art. Well, we are going to do a different type of printmaking today, and we are going to work with nature. So we're going to go outside, and we're going to get all different kinds of leaves. You don't need a lot, okay? Maybe I would say anywhere from 3 to 10. You don't need a lot. You want to think about different sizes and different shapes, because how they're going to fill your canvas. Something I want you to be careful for is I do not want you to accidentally pick up poison ivy. Oh, wrong, not that poison ivy. She's with Batman. This poison ivy. Hold on, I got it. There we go. Took me a second. Okay, so the rule of thumb is typically leaves of 3, let them be. And so if you will look right here with the one on the left side that says poison ivy, it has 3 leaves, and in the very center it's red. That plant has an oil on it that can make us break out in rashes. We don't want to play with it. The next one is poison oak. Here's the tricky one about poison oak. It actually looks like an oak tree leaf, but it's growing on the ground. So I accidentally picked some today, and I had to be very, very careful. Run inside, scrub my hands, baking soda, soap, all of that, to make sure there's no oils on my skin. I thought it was an oak sapling. So the trick to it is that oak trees will be up in a tree, and they are not furry. They are very slick feeling, whereas the ones on the ground that look like oak leaves, they are kind of fuzzy. So anyway, if you see what looks like an oak tree, unless it's way up in a tree, don't pull those leaves. And the last one is poison sumac, and it is actually a pretty big tree with a very red looking the wood on it almost has a very red look, and in the fall it gets real big red berries, and it usually has 5 to 7 leaves. So, and this is not as common in our area. It is around, but it's not as common. Poison oak and poison ivy, it's more common. So if you will be careful to look out for those and just get leaves off of a bush. Now, we don't want to mess up mom and daddy shrubs or our grown-up shrubs. So if you do get some, remember you don't need a lot, and you would do it off the back where nobody's going to see it. Or even better yet, ask permission. If you're little, you want a big person to go with you to help you pick these leaves. Partly y'all can just explore the yard together, and that can be fun. Okay, so I'm going to begin to show you what we're going to do, and I have some example of leaves, and we're going to go through the process together. All right, so I've got my desktop up here, and I have some leaves, and look, this is an oak leaf, nice and slippery, came off the top of a tree, much smarter. I got a couple of leaves off my set of hydrangea bushes, and I love the shape and the size of them. See, they're different sizes, and I was thinking about sizes when I picked stuff up. There's another oak leaf. It's not nearly as big, and it is not furry. So And I did have to get rid of the ones that were furry. This is a leaf off of a tree, and I'll be honest with you, I cannot remember what kind it is right now. Here is a Hosta. Look at all these different varieties of leaves I was able to find, and they all look distinctly different. I know y'all know what this is, and guess what? I picked these up this morning, so some of them are getting wilty already. But I bet you know what that is. It's a clover, right? It's only a 3-leaf clover. And I also got, y'all, I don't know for the life of me what this is. It's just one of our plants we have growing. But it's beautiful. It's so pretty. And it looks different from the others. So I was trying to pick a variety. Here I got what is actually called plantain. It's a weed. And not the banana type thing you look in the store. But again, do you see the difference in varieties I pulled? And I did find one. This came off of a Nandina bush. And I got it because it does have the variety of them. They're going off on each side. I do know beyond a shadow of a doubt this is not Sumac. It is Nandina. The leaves are always very small. They don't get big. And I got one more leaf that's interesting. Well, I got some other leaves too, but this one's fun because this is actually the leaf from a dandelion. And some of my kids know we drew some dandelions last week, and this is the leaf from that plant. But my son cut the grass this morning, so it's a little beaten up. And I did get a maple leaf. Now, something I wanted to point out, and I'll point it out probably on the oak leaf the most, but look at this one. This one has been torn, and on my oak leaf I noticed that it has been chewed on. You can see the little holes in it. One of the things I do love about working with nature, see, that one's been chewed on, is because nature is not perfect. In fact, I always say that nature is messy. And that's part of the fun. You get something that's different. And this is another one of our little bushes. And so I just tried to select in a variety of things. And I'm not worried about it being perfect because, like I just said, nature can be messy. And that creates uniqueness and creates variety. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start, and I'm going to show you the method we're going to use. This is our canvas. Y'all know that if it is going widthwise, it's called landscape. If I turned it so it's tall, that's portrait. It does not matter in this artwork which way you turn it. I'm going to use it landscape just because I have more space. So the first thing you do is you're going to need 2 sheets of paper, okay? One will just be something that we're going to lay our leaves on to color it, but that's not what we're going to print on, and we're going to use it over and over, and it doesn't matter, it gets messed up. I did choose to find a slightly nicer piece of paper, a little heavier, for my actual print, okay? So you'll want to get that. So you'll need 2 sheets of paper. You'll need a variety of leaves, as I just showed you, and you need some markers. I have, these look like brush tip. That doesn't matter. Crayola works beautifully. What will not work is you cannot use permanent markers. That will not work. So what I'm going to let you do is have an opportunity to pause the video. And now that you've seen examples of the types of leaves you need and the materials that you're going to need, then you can go out and get what you need and then come back and have fun with me, okay? So while y'all are doing that, I'm going to get everything rocking here. All right, got my stuff going. So the first thing you do is you're going to start by coloring your leaf, and you're going to be thinking about arrangement. Little people, my young ones, you are just going to worry about getting these things colored and laying them down and getting a good print. As you get older, you're going to start thinking about arrangement. And my middle and high school students should really be thinking about composition. How am I filling up my page? How does it move my eye around? How do the colors balance, right? So this is why this is nice that goes from young to old. The process is not complicated. But as you get older, you get to add maturity to your work. So this is going to be what's called a mono print. Mono meaning one. You're only going to get one of these. You can try to reproduce it, but no matter what, there will only be one just like it. So mono means one, print. Okay, so mono print, one print. And the jelly plates are like that, the one I just showed you. So now I've got my scrap paper down here. You can even move the good paper to the side if you wish, if you're afraid that you might go over. Ooh, I did pick up something fun and I forgot to show you. So this is the fun stuff. I pulled some like long blades. These are actually blades of a plant that would have put out irises or something, but we've got to separate the bulbs. They're too close together, so they didn't ever produce the flowers. So it was perfectly okay for me to pull these, and I knew that. Okay, so you don't just go pulling stuff. I actually pulled one that is super big and super long, but I love, if you can tell, look at the waves in that. That is so cool, and it feels cool too. So you could even use just a long stem. See how it could guide your eye across the paper? And my middle and high school students have heard that a lot. Okay, so, and how things can lay on top of each other. So I'm going to begin to show you the process. This is so much fun, and I think I am actually going to use this really fun long one here, but I don't know why. I just really want to try the one with the ripples. Guess what I did? Accidentally I hid my, there we go. Oops. Alright, so gonna work with this puppy here. So I've got my scrap paper down because that doesn't matter if I get ink on that. I will choose a marker, and all you're going to do is you're simply going to color your plant life, your plant materials, your leaves. Okay, yes, I lose words sometimes. And you just color it, and it takes a minute. You're gonna have to be patient. You can go up and down the stalk, and see, I'm just not even worried if I go on the paper, because this is just our scratch paper that we're going to use. And I purposely got this one because I'm really excited about it, because it has those ripples in it, and I'm interested to see if those ripples are going to show up in the print. Something that's really cool about using these leaves is they all have veins in them, and you know, the veins are what carry the water up through from the roots to the leaves to nourish the plant. So yes, there's a lot of science in art. I think science hits everything, and I love to learn about a lot of different stuff. So I have colored up my leaf, and this is going to probably go across my paper, so I've got enough of it colored. So what you do is, once you've colored it, is you're going to get out your good paper, and I'm going to lift up my leaf that I've just colored, my stem in this case, and I'm going to lay it across the page. I'm going to put the ink side down, so I'm turning it over, and I'm going to lay it down. Once I've laid it down, I want to hold it in place and then put that scratch paper on top, and I'm going to massage the paper, and I'm just going to rub all up and down it. If I was doing this with a another type of print making method, like I was doing this with a woods carving or with jelly prints, I would use something called a baron, and it would rub over it. Okay. And if I was applying ink or paints to a wood carving, I would use something called a brayer. Some of my kids have heard that term before, brayer. And if any of you know, we have a rabbit in the classroom named Brayer. And so now that I've rubbed that really well, and I'm going to lift up my scrap paper, because it's just going to here to be a little servant, put it to the side, and then I'm going to lift my print. I didn't get this quite as rubbed in, or maybe I didn't color it well enough, but I still like it. It goes across the page. And that's one of the fun things about this, is you don't exactly know how it's going to turn out. So leave that there, bring my scratch paper back in place, and get a different leaf. Now, you can change it up. You can use all different kinds of colors. You can even put more than one color on a leaf. All right, so I'm just going to patiently color this, and I'm going to do it on the back. I don't know which way, because it's got a little bit of a shape, like a little, what's the word I'm looking for? It's wanting to pop up. So I want to be able to see what I'm doing, so I'm doing it on the back on this one. And hopefully all those veins will really show up. I did this demo once before with another class earlier in this online learning adventure with this distance learning. And we did this as well, and it really popped out nicely. So you see, I'm just taking my time, and I'm going to color this leaf in. And remember, it's very important that you have that scrap paper under your leaf. And I think I'm going to do something creative here. And my young ones, you don't have to do this. You can just use one color. But I'm going to go on the other side. I'm leaving a part of that uncolored in the middle. And I'm going to color. I'm using this one color for the outside section on both sides of the leaf, because the stem kind of breaks it in two. And there's a certain symmetry about leaves. And so that means it's balanced on each side. There's a certain type of symmetry. And we've talked about different kinds of symmetry. There's radial, which comes out from the center. And we've talked about lateral symmetry when it's on each side. Alright, so I left the middle section uncolored, and I was using orange on that. And since I know orange and blue go beautifully together because they're complementary colors, and we learned that complementary colors like to tell each other compliments. Why orange, you look beautiful. Why blue, you look beautiful too. Because they're across from each other on the color wheel. So I'm using orange and blue to complement one another. And so the area that I did not color orange, I'm coloring blue now in the middle. We're just going to see what it turns out like. And again, this is the fun part because I don't even know exactly what it's going to turn out like. And I actually like that my first one did not print as well as it could have. So the A, you can see things happen. B, you can see that even when you are the teacher, it doesn't always turn out exactly as you planned. I'm going to go ahead and switch it to a different view so you're seeing a little bit larger view of what I'm doing. And you don't need to see the top of my head anyway, because I got my head turned down anyway to do this. So I'm going to just go over here and do this. And I'm almost done coloring this. And I will admit I'm probably going a little faster than I should. And I'm doing it so to use my time wisely. I would want you not to rush. I'd want you to take your time. Make sure you've colored it in really well. One of the nice things about this is that leaves, because they have a natural slick surface, they don't absorb the ink. Therefore, when we go to print it, it releases it all. So I have colored the entire leaf. You see that I made a mess, and that's why we're very glad that I had my scrap peat there. Now I'm going to think about where I want this, and I want this one to come out like that. So I've turned the ink side down. I've laid it where I want it. I'm going to put my scrap paper over it, and I'm going to rub. And I'm just rubbing really well to make sure I press as much of the surface of that leaf onto the paper so that it releases that ink really well, because I did not do it well enough last time, I don't think. And now I'm going to lift my paper and lift my... Isn't that cool? I love it. And this is a nice thing about this too, is I can actually reuse this leaf. I don't have to throw it away and get another leaf. So if you don't get as many leaves, it's okay. Now, I'm gonna hold it up to you. You can see the veins in that leaf. Isn't that cool? And I did mention that it had a wavy thing on that long stem, and it picked that up too. So now I want to think about how I'm going to use my space and what I want to do next. And I'm going to choose a different leaf. I like this one. I love the variety and the new pattern as it goes around. And so I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to start you know what, I don't know that I'm going to. Hold on, let me get this. Some leaves have like something on the back and some don't, so you want to make sure that's off before you start coloring on it, because you don't want to get that on your markers. And to be honest with you, if I hadn't seen this, I wouldn't have thought to tell you that. So I think it was fortuitous that that showed up, because I would not have thought to remind you. Now, I've got pretty purple, and I've got the orange and blue, and so I think I'm going to rock another color. That's pretty strong, so I'm going to come down with another color, because I want to pull this one over here. And I'm just going to start coloring it in, and oops, haha, I almost messed up, guys. Okay, let me put this back down, my scrap paper, because I would have messed up my artwork. And so I'm continuing to color. And remember, I said that permanent markers will not work because they're not water-based, and they will not release the ink. They just permanently cover the surface as opposed to being something that just sits on top that'll be released. So that's an important thing to remember. I do want to kind of hurry this process up because I don't think you need to sit and watch me do this whole thing. But what I'll do is I'm going to do like maybe 1 or 2 more short versions, and I will pause or end the video, and I will post on the cover the end result so that you can see what we've come up with. And do we want to be unique and do it 2 different colors this time? I did on that big one on the other side. So what goes great across from red? If you look at the color wheel, across from red is green. They're complementary colors. And if you'll know, we see red and green at Christmas a lot, don't we? They complement one another. My favorite complementary couple are purple and yellow. I love them, and those are complementaries. For purple, its complement is yellow. I love those 2 for some reason. I think they make me think of pansies, and I think for whatever reason, orange and blue makes me think of sports. Probably because of sports teams combos. And then red and green, of course, make me think of Christmas. So, and Christmas is my favorite holiday, and I love the fall, and that's when pansies grow so well. It's in the fall, and they're beautiful plants. So, I'm going to finish coloring it, and I did this one uniquely, like I just said, and I put one side red and one side green. And now I'm going to decide where I want it. And this one's going up like that, so I think I want to go the opposite direction. See? I'm thinking about composition. I'm going to lay it down, and I'm going to make sure the ink was facing my print, not the scrap paper, because that would do me no good whatsoever. So I turned it over, and now I'm pressing and rubbing into it. And it's so fun. I can actually feel the stem and even the veins as I'm pressing into my leaf. And now I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to lift my, oh my goodness, that one turned out beautifully. So I think you understand the concept. So you see that you're just simply going to color your leaves. Make sure you do it on your scrap paper, and then you're going to lay it. Once you've got the ink on it, you'll transfer it and put it to your paper, and you will lift it, and you will have a mono print of one print, so one run. And just think about the different sizes and how you can use them around your canvas, if you have more than one of something. And I'm just kind of laying these around thinking about how can I use this puppy. There's a nice size one. I might want to use it over here to kind of balance. My bigs hear me talk all the time, and my middles about the magic numbers of 3s. And see, I have 1, 2, 3. I'm creating a triangle, and that's the 3 big ones. And then I could use maybe an array of little ones. Something our eyes really like, our brains like even numbers. So when we as artists use odd numbers, 3s and 5s, it really confuses the brain. And the brain's like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't understand what's going on here. So, and I might do, like here, if I were to do the magic of 5s, which is an odd number, I have 5 larger size leaves. They're moving my eyes in different directions. And so these are just composition concepts, okay? And we have that right there is a really nice layout in and of itself. If I were to sit and color all these and then print them, and this would be a beautiful layout. I will have used my canvas really well. I have my leaves going in different directions. It moves my eye around. And then you start getting into how you use your color and what pulls your eye. This is very, very dark and very strong. So I'm going to need something to pull my eye back up this direction to help balance it and create movement. And for my younger ones, y'all know our elements of design, but we're still learning principles too. And those principles have to do with movement and balance. And we know that elements of art are the ingredients for making good art, but you have to follow directions if you're going to cook up some good art. And the directions are our principles: emphasis, balance, movement, repetition. These are the things we want to incorporate to make sure we make really good art. I am looking forward to seeing what you create. So once you make it, I can't wait to see you upload it to our art room. And if you are a visitor to this site, to our YouTube channel from someplace else, I would still love for you to create your work, and I would love for you to give us a comment. I've left the comment section open. And thank you so much for joining us today.